Hi, I'm Jason McAteer, and I'm about to get up close and personal with Mark Lawrenson. How are you doing, Lauro?
I bet you never, ever, ever thought in a million years you'd be doing something like this, would you?
To be honest, I'm just glad I'm getting up close and personal on Zoom and not in person, to be honest.
Oh, thanks very much. You're full of SH1B.
As much as I love you.
Yeah, of course.
Lauro, right, I'm going to start off quite simple. Are you a Liverpool fan?
Yes, I am. Although my favourite team, I think as most people know, is Preston, because when I was, 12, 13, all I ever wanted to do was follow my dad, who obviously played for Preston, into the Preston first team. And I did that at the age of just turned 18. So they are always and always will be my team, but obviously Liverpool because of the 7 years I had, etc. So I'm lucky that they don't play in the same division, to be quite honest with you.
Did you enjoy growing up in sort of the late 70s and the 80s when playing around that time? Because, the football fans were different to what they were now. Criticism used to come quite easily from the terraces. Obviously there was racism in that time, football hooliganism in that time. Were you ever sort of conscious of what was going on, or were you just concentrated on playing football?
Well, I went to Brighton very quickly. The story was that Liverpool had come in for me and bid 70 grand. Preston wanted 100 grand, and my mum had remarried, and my stepfather was a director of the club. Talk about incestuous. Wow. Yeah, as it, and he never told me. He never told me about Liverpool. There was no agents, and that was kind of in the end of the March, because that was the only transfer window. And in May, June, Brighton came in for me and offered 100 grand plus VAT, so it was 112 grand. And Preston went to Liverpool and said, it's too much money. And then, of course, 4 years later, they paid a big whack. But going to Brighton was fab. It was just fab, and all our players, I think, apart from two, have been transferred in. So obviously, I joined from Preston, and then Gary Williams, who's from Litherland, he was playing for Preston in the first team. He came 6 weeks later, so that was great. So I had a buddy and everything. But we didn't see much of anything at Brighton because it was such a long way. And we had crowds of 25, 26,000. It was mad because there was no catchment area apart from 50 miles away in Crystal Palace or Southampton and stuff like that. But we were kind of shielded from all that, in all honesty, and there was never any scrapping or anything apart from when Brighton played Palace because they hated each other. And it was just like a nice, easy life, and we were winning. So everything seemed really, really simple. We know it isn't at times, but we had 2 promotions and everything, so it was good.
And how much money did you have in your pocket, and what were you driving?
Right. I had an orange Toyota Corolla. And by the way, listen.
In an orange Corolla. You're not pulling in an orange Corolla.
No, I didn't need to do that. You just saw me play. No, I'm only joking. Right, so, and I bought it. It was like 1,200 quid, right? And it was from a payment from my contract. And I lived in Lytham St. Anne's. Well, you'll know this, but Blackpool, which is just down the road, and Preston, they hate each other. Absolutely, totally hate each other. It's a real hatred, and hatred's a strong word. And I remember when I brought it and took it home, and my stepfather said to me, "What have you done?" I said, "It's a great car." He said, "Have you looked at the colour, by the way?" And I went, "I'll be all right." Anyway, not long after I got transferred to Brighton, and I drove with all my belongings. My mother was wetting herself, right? So no mobile phones, no nothing, no M23, no M25. It took me 7 hours. And when I left the house, she said, "Ring me." And I went, "How am I going to ring you?" She said, "You'll have to stop at all the services." Nuts. But I rang about 2 or 3 times. So that was my first car. Money in my pocket. I hardly did anything. I think I was on 30 quid a week at Preston.
Were you?
Yeah. And I thought that was good.
What would that be relative now? How much would that be, do you think? Old money, like sort of now, what we look at?
32 now. Maybe 300. I don't know. We're in the old 3rd division, which is what now Div 1.
Yeah.
And of course, I was just a kid from school, and that was my money. And I wasn't there long enough to get a second contract.
Okay.
I think my appearance money was obviously good because that entice me to get in the team and stay in the team and one thing and another. But yeah, I've still got a copy of my first contract, 30 quid a week. And by the way, I am the only person in football ever to take his own signed papers, registration papers, to the office was in Lytham St Anne's. So when I signed for Liverpool, Tom Saunders, God rest his soul, great fella, he said to me, "You live in Lytham, don't you?" I said, "Well, it's St Anne's actually, Tom." He said, "Even better, because that's where the Football League offices are." He says, "Can I trust you to take your own papers in?" And I said, "Yeah." So I took them in and went to the receptionist. And I said, "Oh, these are for such." And she said, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm the fella who signed the contract." She went, "Oh, really? We don't get many of you in here."
So the call comes and Tom sends you to sign your papers. What's the feeling like when you walk into that winning dressing room? What is the feeling of a young Mark Lawrenson in the shadow of these great players, this great club?
Well, the first person and only person I saw was Suey, was Graham. And he had a black eye, like it was been painted on by a makeup artist. It was perfect. And I arrived on a Friday night with obviously Bob. The doctor was there, etc. And I think it was just like about 4 of us. And Graham had been in for a little bit of treatment. It was early on a Friday, about 6 o'clock or something. And I looked at Graham, he looked at me and he went, I said, "Don't worry." He said, "I did 2 of them, but the other one got me." And I'm thinking, shine on. This is the football club. And Bob was like your granddad in charge of the team. So he sent me to the Thingy Tower Hotel right by the Liver buildings. I can't remember what it was called then. Atlantic Tower.
Yeah, Atlantic Tower.
Overnight. So I can't sleep because, I'm back home basically. My mum only lives, they say, Lytham St Anne's 40 miles away. So that was all good. And I hardly ever slept. Put my suit on the next day to go into the ground officially. And Bob came to pick me up, right? And the concierge ran me, said, "Oh, Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Paisley's here." So down I come and all nice and smart. And as I walked out, he got out of his car and it was like a gold Granada, right? And he got out of it. And the first thing I noticed was he had his slippers on my kid's life. He had his slippers on and he got out. And the next thing he had like a mustard coloured sweater, but a zip up one. And when I got close to him, he had egg on it. So he'd obviously had egg for his breakfast. And I just thought European champions, because he'd just beaten Real Madrid in Paris. I thought this will do for me. I loved it. I thought it was fab. And straight away, don't you? You just get this feeling, and yeah, it was great.
And what age were you?
I was 23, I think.
So you're still a baby, really?
Yeah, a little bit. I just hadn't had any sort of bad times in football. It was all good. So
had you won anything?
Just 2 promotions with Brighton, 2 consecutive, and won them easily. And then we missed out on promotion to what was Div 1 then, the top league, by goal difference. And I think Tottenham and Southampton went up, and we finished on the same points, but we missed out on goal difference. Then we went up the next season.
Okay, well, you had an unbelievable career at Liverpool, and it was so successful playing with some great players. If you could pick one player that you really enjoyed playing with, you were kind of on the wavelength and felt really comfortable. You look at him in the dressing room. For me, it was McAteer and Robbie. If you look at the player and think, yeah, we've got a chance today, who would that have been?
Christ, that was most of the side, Jace.
Was it? It wasn't just one.
Well, I mean, Kenny was a genius as a player. He couldn't run, he couldn't edit, and he had a big fat arse, but he was an absolute genius. And then you'd have to say, well, Russia, because we'd keep it at 0-0 and he'd nick a goal. But yeah. Souness never ever really got the praise from other teams and players, probably because he'd topped most of them anyway. But he was the manager of the side playing, and then there was Al. So I mean, Big Al was just it was easy for him. I mean, I'd come off, covered in shit and blood and everything, complete mess on my kit, and it's as though he just put his kit on and he just wandered off like he'd take the dog around the park. It was easy. So there were so many of them, weren't there? That was the thing about it.
So when you finish the game, Lotto, you're in, you get your shower, you get your big bath, all in the big bath. What's Mark Lawrenson putting on? Is it a bit of Brute? Is it a bit of Old Spice?
Oh my goodness.
This is taking you back.
It's a long, long time ago, Jace. Maybe even nothing. Maybe, mind you, listen, mind you, I mean, people can't believe the stories about the bath, can they? That we all got in one bath, shitted up, and and hardly anyone went to the shower. It was bonkers. I mean, I remember, well, we had two baths, didn't we? Two big baths, right? And remember at the start of pre-season, and we had that purple stuff put in one of the baths to harden your feet for the blisters.
Harden your feet, yeah.
We all bet Brucey one day that he wouldn't dive from the shitty bath into the blister bath, and he did it. And listen, honestly, seriously, we all did it. And do you know what did you know what he did? He dived up. I mean, there's only about that much water in his unbelievable belly flop. We got, oh my God, it was absolutely fine. Absolutely.
It was bonkers. And
what
was your pre-match meal? What would you eat before the game?
Chicken and beans. Roast chicken and beans.
Every time. Are you superstitious, Laurel? Are you superstitious?
I was a little bit kind of only superstitious, not about where I went out in terms of onto the pitch, whether I was second, eighth, none of that rubbish, but my boots. And, if I played well in my boots, even when they were all falling apart, like they go to the cobblers all the time, because they were me lucky boots. When you think about it, it's a load of bollocks. But if it makes you feel good, it does you good.
Right. So you can shut your eyes now and you can go back in time. I'll give you the time machine. And when you open your eyes, it's there in front of you. What are you doing? What is it? What's that moment?
That moment is not playing against bloody Wimbledon. Well, it is, because I was
above all the cups and the trophies and
because I reckon because I was a rubbish trainer, but I didn't really need to train. It was just I was really lucky. Jockey was the same, and I thought I'd have had another 6 years. That extra 6 years. Who knows what you would have won? I mean, you might not have won anything, but I was starting to be greedy and thinking, Christ, I could end up with like 7-8 league championships and stuff. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing.
Well, it's been amazing. I mean, I got asked to do this job actually, and I thought, well, just to chat with Laurel, but I've got to be honest, like it's opened my eyes up because we obviously know about Mark Lawrenson, but I don't think we do. Let me just ask you, just before we finish, a couple of quick fire questions. I really enjoyed it. What's your favourite colour?
Red.
What do you have on your bacon butty, sauce-wise, red or brown?
Brown. HP, gotta be.
Is it?
Yeah.
What kind of undies do you wear?
Boxers.
Where's your favourite holiday destination?
Got a house in Mallorca, so it's got to be Mallorca.
And if you looked at all your medals and you had to play in one of the finals again, which one would it be?
84 European Cup. Roma.
Because
don't forget, we're away from home, weren't we? People don't realise this, but so we win, with the penalties and all that rubbish. And Brucey was never near any one of the five, by the way. He went the wrong way for all five of them, but one of them hit the bar, one of them went over. Their captain, the captain of Roma that night, 10 years later to the day, committed suicide. I mean, how sad is that? Like, people don't know. And it's like, it was kind of almost kept under the carpet. 10 days. His name was, I think, Di Napoli. He was a really, really good player as well. 10 years to the day he committed suicide.
Okay, well, let's end it on, I mean, that's so sad. Let's end it on one. If you have to sum up Mark Lawrenson's career in one word, what would it be?
Unbelievable. Because I didn't ever, when I started playing for Preston, ever believe that. I just thought that was it, that day at Deepdale. I thought, I've done it.
Well, Lauro, that has been brilliant, getting up close and personal. I've really enjoyed it. I feel like I know you now, like one of the family. Thanks a lot, mate. I really enjoyed it, and take care.
I'd like to say that was unbelievable, Jace, but I can't lie.